Canadian women's national team head coach Casey Stoney was clearly furious with how Canada played the last time we saw them take to the pitch against the Americans. 3-0 they were defeated in Washington, D.C. It probably should have been 13-0 based on the effort that we saw on the day, but that is neither here nor there. We're looking ahead to late October. New set of friendlies against Switzerland, and just announced on Wednesday, the Netherlands as well. I'm wondering, Ollie, what do you think Coach Stoney will do heading into these friendlies based on her comments after the match on July the 2nd?
Well, let's just recall what those comments were, and this was put out by the Federation in their own content. Casey Stoney said in October, the level goes up, come back fit or I'll send you home. So firstly, hopefully no one gets sent home. That would be a bad start to the camp. But I think it's pretty clear that this is go time for the Canadian women's national team now. They've still got a long runway in front of them to that World Cup, but I think we've clearly come through a periods where Casey Stoney, I think, was very empathetic early on in understanding what the team had been through the previous year, rebuilding that trust with the coaching staff. But frankly, I think not just in the US game, but probably over her 9 games as a whole, I don't think the performances have quite been where she wanted them to be by this point. And so now it's time to really start pushing them and asking a bit more. And I think that's the right thing. In terms of the changes, I do think this team needs to get faster, and I think they need to get stronger. They need to run more. I don't always feel that way on the men's side when there's a lot of talk about the pressing and maybe there's a bit of a need for a bit more balance at times. I do think with the women that side of the game has been lacking, and it was very apparent against the United States, even though the US were missing so many of their first choice players. So I think there needs to be a change in mindset in that regard, a change in the physical condition, as obviously she's been very clear on. But there could also be a lot of change in terms of personnel. Olivia Smith is healthy, most obviously. Chloe Lacasse is back. Floriane Georges scored a brilliant goal and is playing for PSG already. She's kind of come out of nowhere and is a left-footed player, which they seriously lack badly in this team. Not clear on Kadisha Buchanan right now. She still hasn't played, but there could be some different personnel that comes in that shakes up the team quite a bit as well. So I'd expect it to look quite different from how it has in the past few games leading up to that US defeat.
I think Casey Stoney's comments were pretty clear when she made them. You can feel especially because she obviously said it in the press conference, you could feel it coming from her, the way she was like we weren't fit enough. We weren't there. We weren't, at all involved in that US game. So I just want to see as well how the players have responded, because you've seen a lot of them have kind of made moves in consequence of, okay, maybe I'm not playing enough. What's the best opportunity for me? Should I still be in Europe? Should I find a different club within Europe? If I'm in the NWSL, am I in the right environment? And a bunch of players, have switched clubs. I'm very curious, for example, if some of them get rewarded. Right off the top of my head, it's been really interesting to see Sydney Collins, who missed so much time with injury, who we haven't seen under Casey Stoney, make a great move to Bay FC, where she's now racking up 90s. Is that going to be something that Stoney looks like, all right, that's someone who's playing? I want to see how much does she rock the boat? Some players aren't playing as much, and there's an equivalent in the NSL, right? Like Kaylee Hunter's been scoring for fun. Do you rock the boat? Call in someone new? Those are all the sorts of questions we ask. And what I like is that Stoney's kind of put, I imagine she's played a pretty big role in scheduling this friendly, put her money where her mouth is. Like bringing in the Netherlands is a real big friendly. I know they had a pretty disastrous Euro campaign. They got grouped, although their group was England, France. I don't know how the heck that happened logistically. So this isn't maybe the same Netherlands of a few years ago. This is still a very good team. This is going to be a good test, because against the US team, they weren't horrible on the day, but it just felt like there were two teams. And for Canada, I think it's because we're not used to seeing that gulf, right? Because Canada, no matter how bad they've been, there's usually been this competitiveness. It's the fact that they were so far away, and the US were playing a B team. So yes. That also stands out. So let's see in this camp, how much will they have progressed from that? How much of a balance can they find and really build off those comments?
Well, only Casey Stoney knows who exactly she was speaking to. Obviously, the entire team needs to get more fit, etc., as you guys have rightfully covered off. But it felt a lot to me that there was a particular group of players that she was addressing, and those are the new veterans, the new leaders of this group. The Christine Sinclair, Sophie Schmidt, Desiree Scott era, it's gone now. And I think you could rightfully criticize at times how some of the veteran players were allowed to keep playing for as long, and part of that is the crop before them. But there needs to be a little bit less comfort in, I have 75 to 100 caps for this country. I'm on the team sheet. It doesn't matter how I show up and perform in matches. And I think there is a bit of that changing of the guard. And I want to talk a little bit more about those younger players. Ollie rattled off some of them, but the one that, of course, grabs the headlines is Olivia Smith, the history setting sail, a £1 million player going to Arsenal. She's chumming it up with Declan Rice at the Emirates. It's all, the vibes are immaculate, and she's scoring goals and performing at one of the highest levels in world football. Are you ready, Alex, to say that the next decade of this women's national team will see Olivia Smith as the face, the most important player for this group?
Yes, and what I like, it's because Olivia Smith is kind of almost forcing us to, right? Like, we always want to be so careful with these young players because we've seen it time and time again, especially, when you're a young attacker playing for the Canadian women's national team and, you happen to be at a program where they're the all-time international goal scorer resides. It's really hard to avoid comparisons of the next Christine Sinclair, next this, next that. So we want to be careful, but then Smith, every time she plays, every milestone she achieves, you can't help but think, okay, this is someone who's ready to step up and lead. I think this Liverpool stint really showed, like, okay, she's at a high level at maybe a lesser club, and she's still scoring goals, dragging them along, getting performances. Now she makes the step up to the elite, to the highest level, to a team that just won the Champions League. What do you do week one? You score a banger from 30 yards. That skill, the sort of things we don't see a lot, at least the last few years in a Canadian shirt. You think, okay, imagine what she's doing if she's wearing red, the different shade of red, and she can do that. So with Smith, you just want to see continued progression, because there was a point in time where Christine Sinclair would score goals like that. And then obviously as you age, her game changed, and Canada really kind of lost that. I know Adriana Leon in moments can do things like that, and there's a few others, but it really feels like Olivia Smith is hitting levels that we haven't seen for a Canadian player for a long time, and some things we haven't even seen ever. So if she can continue and really translate this over to the national team, it feels like it's going to be her attack. It's going to be her team, and I think that's excited based on the body of work she's starting to build for herself.
Well, that's the thing, is like over the past few years, and you could say since Sinclair's retired, but probably even in the final years of Sinclair, to be honest with you, like, who has been one attacker for Canada that you can plug into the starting lineup and just think that's money in the bank? That player's going to deliver on a consistent basis. Like Leon, maybe. I think she's been pretty good over the past few years. She's 33. Yeah, she's 33 at the start of next month. So, in terms of players coming through, it just hasn't really happened for a lot of them. If Olivia Smith can change that and be that piece that you can put in every single starting lineup and know you're going to get output and you're going to get quality, then yeah, she's going to be the most important player for this team. Because while I think Jade Rose is in the same class in terms of her caliber, she's playing in a spot where you have Vanessa Gilles, you have Kadisha Buchanan, you have more kind of proven, reliable options. So yeah, if she's what we hope she can be, and she looks like she's starting to deliver on that promise at Arsenal, then no doubt she's going to be the face of this team and the most important piece.
I think something about this group that's never been able to be disputed is the cohesion within them, and everything that they've gone through as a team has just strengthened that bond. I want you guys to tell me if I'm straying a bit too far outside the lines here and inferring things that maybe aren't there. I found it strange after Christine Sinclair's retirement that there was, every time there was the questions asked about leadership or captaincy, it was like, we lead by example together to a fault. It felt like there was an obvious lack of a star or some presence or aura in the changing room. And I don't want to insinuate that Olivia Smith's going to strut in now that she's this £1 million Arsenal player, but I think having that type of person to lead and take on a lot of the public-facing media work is important to a group. Like, it's unfair to compare such a young player to Alphonso Davies and Stephanie Shakio, et cetera, but it feels like, Alex, that they've been missing this extra little bit of star power.
Yeah, well, I think with Christine Sinclair, just it's unique because she led for so long. She led since she was younger than Smith, right? Because she kind of came on and was this prodigy. That I think that's something that's been unique, that because her style was, maybe not, she maybe wasn't the most vocal. She wasn't going to be someone who was going to, muck it up for 20 minutes with the media unless she was, had to. That in her retirement, there's kind of been this void of like, whoa, what's leadership like? What's it like without her? It feels like Smith has a bit of that natural leader. Not to say other players don't have it. I think they do, but when you're kind of one of those lead by example types and one of the quieter types, it helps to be able to have these certain level of performances, this certain level of caliber where, if Smith does what she did for Arsenal in week 1 in one of the Canada games, you can't help but follow behind. Okay, this is serious. Okay, she might not wear the band, but that's the sort of things she can do. So absolutely, I think this team is in a bit of a leadership transition because they've obviously got their leaders, and Jessie Fleming has obviously stepped up big. It's been a few years now since she's had the armband, but leadership goes so much beyond just having a captain. It starts with the veterans, but it also the youngsters stepping up. It fills a big gap. So I think Smith could play a big role in that part. Jade Rose really feels like that's where you could see her shine because she's been around this team so long. She just seems like a natural leader. That would also be a big one I'd look at.
I would say like the more important part of leadership that Christine Sinclair brought, more than like talking to the media or anything like that, was just that she was a winner. Like she had an edge about her and she wanted to beat everyone and she wasn't there to have a good time. And I'm not saying those players are, but I think there's a different level with her compared to any other player probably who has ever played for Canada, right? She just had that chip on her shoulder at times and that determination about her. So I think mentality wise, like you see a little bit of that in Smith, I think as well, that you're hopeful maybe can impact this team positively.